First, our soldiers, our veterans, our soldiers for life. And if you'll permit me, I use the term soldier tonight to refer to all service members, past and present, regardless of branch of service. During their careers and in their lives, and you'll see this throughout history, our soldiers, our veterans, continue to improve their skills, ensuring that they remain strong for themselves, their family, their community, and their nation. Second, the military is committed to the lifelong success of our soldiers, their veterans, and the families by connecting them with opportunities for employment, education, and healthcare after their military service. Finally, we can't do this alone. Supporting our soldiers and veterans requires a team approach by not only the military branches, but by other government agencies, and most importantly, by the local communities. So first, a soldier is a soldier for life. It takes great strength to wear this nation's uniform. Though one day we remove this uniform, no amount of time or strife can sever the thread uniting us veterans in a unique and everlasting bond. I know that the soldiers with whom I served in Iraq and Afghanistan and will soon take again to Afghanistan will be my brothers and sisters for life, a bond that only a soldier can understand. So once a soldier for life. The uniform has changed many times in the last 237 years. What hasn't changed has been the spirit and determination of the men and women willing to wear the nation's uniform. The image of a veteran, however, has changed. Almost half of those serving in the military are between 22 and 30 years of age. Now America has the largest population of young veterans since the Vietnam War. And as we near the conclusion of combat operations in Afghanistan, the military will get smaller over the next 5 years. More than 130,000 soldiers will leave the Army this year alone, and another 500,000 by the end of 2017. But as they follow in the proud footsteps of the men and women who served in the military and then served in their communities, they bring with them the uncommon and unwavering strength common in our veterans. After World War II, 15.7 million veterans returned home, and many feared the possibility of not having a job when they returned. In 1944, President Roosevelt signed the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, we know today, of course, as the GI Bill. The GI Bill constructed facilities for veterans, authorized unemployment compensation of $20 a week for a maximum of 52 weeks, and offered job placement for vets and provided up to 4 years of education and training. More than half of all the veterans use the education benefits. In fact, 3 years after it was passed, veterans made up 49% of all college attendees. During their experience, these military students earned a reputation for their unwavering commitment to learning. But these veterans were not alone in their efforts. The public rallied around the veterans, and employers were eager to hire them. A professor of management at Pepperdine University's School of Business and Management said, quote, "As traumatic and devastating as World War II was in terms of loss of life, those who came back alive were heroes. If there was a choice to make, the veteran was the one who would be hired." Veterans proved themselves more than capable of not just adjusting to their new civilian roles, they were excelling. By 1965, veterans made on average 60% more than their civilian counterparts. Veteran unemployment rate was half that of other civilians. And veterans' children were more likely to attend college. In fact, the GI Bill has led to 14 Nobel laureates, 24 Pulitzer Prize winners, 3 Supreme Court justices, 3 presidents, and scores of other leaders. The list includes venture capitalist Eugene Clymer, who helped create Amazon.com, and surgeon and astronaut Story Musgrave. It also includes the likes of Johnny Carson, Bill Cosby, and of course, Kansas Senator Bob Dole. Not surprisingly, the majority of Fortune 500 CEOs are also military veterans. By Vietnam, the strength, courage, and commitment of our soldiers and our veterans had not changed. What had changed was the public's attitude toward them. That generation remembers returning from war to a country so divided and distracted by internal politics that the public had little interest in what our veterans had been doing on behalf of our nation. In some instances, our veterans were treated with derision and disdain. These attitudes and misunderstandings about veterans during the Vietnam War, an era to which many of you belong, sadly and undeservedly limited the potential success of many members of that greatest generation. The generation that lives in perpetuity, unbound by the times or the politics of the moment. You know, I recently attended a dinner hosted by the 101st Airborne Association dinner, where I had the opportunity to talk to a dust-off or a medevac pilot about his extraordinary experience during the Vietnam War. He proudly recounted to me that he had had as many helicopters shot out from underneath him as Civil War General Nathan Bedford Forrest had horses shot out from underneath him during the Civil War. What he left out of the story, and of course his brothers there gathered that night quickly filled in, is that on multiple occasions, this individual flew through a hailstorm of bullets to rescue his wounded brothers on the jungle floor below. His actions earned him the Distinguished Flying Cross. His story, your story, my dad's story, the story of millions of veterans, past and present, reminds us that greatness and heroism belongs to no one generation. Veterans represent an enduring legacy of courage and sacrifice that extends back to the days of our nation's founding. But for our Vietnam veterans who are gathered here this evening in particular, I'd like to remind you of the words of Ronald Reagan during the 1984 dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Statue. Quote, "You performed with the steadfastness and valor that veterans of other wars salute. And you are forever in the ranks of that special number of Americans in every generation that the nation regards as true patriots." He later said, "Some of your countrymen were unable to distinguish between our native distaste for war and the stainless patriotism of those who suffered its scars." But there's been a rethinking there too. And now we can say to you and say as a nation, thank you for your service. Thank you for being patient with your countrymen. Thank you. Thank you for continuing to stand with us together. Every one of our soldiers, veterans, and their families deserve to be applauded for their strength, devotion, and service to our nation. Though we come here today to thank them for their service, we know that they deserve so much more. They deserve every opportunity to use their skills, knowledge, leadership, and experience that they gained during their time in the military. That brings me to my second point. Our military is completely committed to doing that. Military branches are working with the Departments of Defense and Labor, Veterans Administration, and local communities to transition and reintegrate soldiers and veterans back into civilian life. From the Vow to Hire Heroes Act, which gives tax credits for businesses that hire unemployed and disabled veterans, to a redesign of the military's Transition Assistance Program, which is designed again to assist separating soldiers as they transition back to the workforce, start a new business, or pursue training or higher education. The military is committed to its veterans. In the Army, there are multiple efforts underway to improve this transition process, including changes to the Army Career Alumni Program, otherwise known as ACAP, the Hero to Hired Employment Application Tool, Employer Partnership to the Armed Forces, and the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. Our soldiers, veterans, and families have given so much. It is our sacred duty to maintain their trust and faith and remind them they will always remain the strength of our nation and the strength of our armed forces. Again, one's a soldier for life. Throughout their military service, men and women live by a professional ethos that asserts, "I will never accept defeat, and I will never leave a fallen comrade behind." These men and women are willing to toil and sacrifice for the small band of brothers, unwavering to their left and right. They draw their courage from the wellspring of our history and from the legacy of strength they have inherited from those that marched tirelessly before them. But these soldiers, our veterans, don't see themselves as being brave or special. They just say they're doing their jobs. Since the attacks of September 11, 2001, almost 3 million American men and women have answered our nation's call to arms, to serve their nation and to do their job. Now, after 11 years of war, more than 1.3 million servicemen and women who deployed overseas have returned back to their communities. But still, more than 720,000 veterans of all generations remain unemployed. The numbers are getting better, but we still have a long way to go. And this requires a team approach. You know, when young people join the military, they join a special team. It's a unique and honored family. When they train, they do not train alone. When they deploy, they have a battle buddy, a squad, a platoon, a company, a battalion. Everything they do is with the team, and it's for the team. One of the points I emphasize to the soldiers in my battalion is that everyone there is a volunteer. You know, they have all chosen to serve, and specifically, they now have the distinction of serving in the Eagle Attack Battalion and the 101st Airborne Division Air Assault. I remind them that every soldier is essential, and each performs a vital role. Our pilots cannot provide rounds on target if the mechanics aren't properly maintaining the aircraft, if the fuelers aren't properly fueling the aircraft, and if the weapon systems on board the aircraft are not properly maintained, and on and on. So we live, we train, and we fight as one team. In fact, soldiers spend very little time alone. Our soldiers, our veterans, should never struggle alone as they transition to a civilian life. This brings me to my final point. Supporting our soldiers and veterans requires a team approach by the military services, other government agencies, and as I've mentioned, the local communities, because we simply can't do this alone. Just as a nation rallies around the troops in a time of war, the same country must rally around its veterans during times of peace. On Veterans Day, Remembrance Day, Armistice Day, or the Day of Peace, a day has many names, the world stops in silence to pay tribute to the heroes of the battlefield, who never see themselves as heroes. To that I say we owe veterans more than our silence, our memories, and our thanks. You were right to quote President Kennedy earlier. He said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. When we think of how much our veterans and their families have done for our nation, how do we honor their sacrifice? How do we celebrate their service? How do we do these things in a meaningful way? How do we make a difference in the lives of the men and women who have made such a difference in our lives? Soldiers and veterans don't see themselves as being brave or special. They just say they're doing their jobs. But what are their jobs when they leave the service? And what can each of us do? Encourage businesses to hire a veteran or military family member. Soldiers bring exceptional training, values, and experience to their civilian jobs. The leadership and technical skills we develop in the military make us valuable additions to any organization. Veterans make exceptional employees in any organization because in serving their country, they've acquired invaluable skills, including decision-making skills primed by quick, clear thinking, proven leadership skills, honed in the most challenging operational environments, the knowledge and experience needed to be sophisticated team builders and natural team players, a work ethic that demonstrates an unwavering commitment to excellence. You know, every day I watch 18 and 19-year-old soldiers walk the flight line, turning wrenches on multi-million-dollar Apache helicopters. I watch young officers not many years older than them climb into these same aircraft and fly them in harm's way. I have to trust that they have the right training, discipline, and integrity to do the right thing. Ultimately, lives depend on their actions. If they can shoulder those responsibilities on a daily basis under the rigors of combat, just think of what they're capable of doing in the private sector. So please help spread the word. If you know of an organization that wants to help veterans, encourage them to register at the National Resource Directory, so wounded, ill, and injured service members and their families can access information about the services they provide. Volunteer in your community. Get involved with local organizations in your hometown to make a difference in the lives of wounded warriors and their families. I encourage you to see the strength of our veterans and their families and look for ways to help them. Just remember as we go forward, our soldiers are soldiers for life. They are strong and resilient, creative and determined. I am confident this generation, my generation, will join the remarkable generations of men and women who wore this uniform and left an enduring mark on our nation. Let's do our part to ensure our veterans have every opportunity to reach their highest potential. We have some great young men and women counting on us to come through for them and their families. Let your words bring forth action. Think of their service and their sacrifice. Don't just say thank you, but continue to show, much as we have done here at the Veteran One-on-One, where Rotarians bring a veteran and recognize and celebrate their service to our nation. That is what a community should do. In closing, and as we reflect on the service and sacrifices of our veterans on this special day, I'm reminded of the words of the English economist and philosopher